Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Wertheimer, and this is Breaking Wasabi Wallet. Now, before I begin, I've been told by, I don't know, a few people that some think that I may be a little bit toxic or a little bit provocative sometimes. So I want to set expectations. So let's start with some trigger warnings. This presentation may include some traces of bad jokes about Bitcoin personalities. It might have some multiplication, so make sure you're fine with that. I might say the word Ethereum, and there's also a COINJOIN primer probably. And I would say, you know, if you think that this might be triggering to you, then it's okay to leave. But especially the part about the bad jokes, they're really objectively bad. But apart from that, I hope you stay because I'll at least try on the upside to make this somewhat approachable, I hope. So let's start with a COINJOIN primer. So you can see a badly drawn diagram of a COINJOIN transaction. And well, you can see on the top is 3 inputs, right? So those are 3 different entities, and the 3 inputs have like different sizes and different shapes because they have different histories and the amounts are different. And below you can see that we have like 3 equal amounts of outputs that are 0.1 Bitcoin in this case, and they all look the same, right? They're all circles, they look exactly the same, you can't know which belongs to who. And below them you have 3 change outputs that are what's left from the inputs after they're being COINJOINed. So this is like what a standard COINJOIN transaction would look like. And we sometimes say that a COINJOIN is supposed to increase your privacy and increase your anonymity. I think if we're trying to be specific about what a COINJOIN does, then the specific thing is it tries to delink a history of a UTXO from its future, from what you're going to do with it in the future. So it's not, you know, it's not magic. If you're going to use it in the future, you're still, you know, if you're going to do something public with UTXO after you mixed it, you're still going to be able to know who it belongs to. So obviously, if I say this UTXO belongs to me, Udi, then it doesn't matter that I COINJOINed it in the past. Obviously, it will be clear that it belongs to me. So it's not magic, and amounts have to be equal for it to work. And there's, well, a pretty known thing about COINJOINs is that they're very affected by not just you, but your partners in the COINJOIN. So I could say about an output that it's mine, and you'll know it's mine. But another thing that could happen is that the other parties in the COINJOIN would say that their outputs are theirs, and if you're, you know, if 2 people in a COINJOIN announce that you know, those are their outputs, then the 3rd output is also obvious. So, and an extreme case of this would be that, you know, you can have a Sybil attack where everyone in a COINJOIN is just actually one person, and they're targeting you specifically, and you think that you anonymized your outputs, but actually because all of the other partners in your COINJOIN are the same person, then they know who you are. So that's a known problem with COINJOINs. So a little bit about Wasabi itself and how it works. So first, Wasabi is a wallet. It's a standard wallet like any other wallet, and it has standard features. You can manage your keys. You can use hardware wallets. You can obviously send and receive coins. You can do manual coin selection, so you can select which coin you're going to spend if you want, which might help you manage your identity in what you're doing. And it also has this intelligent usage of Tor where it will try to make sure that other peers or the Wasabi server and so on won't be able to link various actions that you do because it will use a different Tor identity every time. So that's pretty nice. The other thing it does is it also allows you to do COINJOINs. So if you've never used Wasabi, the way it works is that a user would select a few outputs that they have and they want to mix. And those coins are added to a local queue, and one at a time, Wasabi will attempt to add them to a round with other Wasabi clients and create a COINJOIN transaction. And this can take a long time. If you have, I don't know, if you have like 10 outputs that you want to mix, or an amount of, let's say, 1 Bitcoin that you want to mix, then it will probably take 10 rounds to mix them because each round has a fixed size. And so you will probably have to wait. You'll probably have to leave your computer on until there are enough rounds with enough participants to get your CoinJoin going. And Wasabi also has what they call a Wasabi coordinator, which is a server operated by Wasabi Wallet. And the nice thing about it, it uses a mechanism that they call COINJOIN CoinJoin, which means that, I'm not going to get into it, but what it means is they're not supposed to be able to link which inputs belong to which outputs, so they don't gain any extra information about you. And they're also not supposed to be able to steal funds. But maybe they could. So we're going to talk about two main things that maybe are possible to do with an attacker on Wasabi. One is to try to de-anonymize you, and another is to try to maybe take more funds than you expect. So I'm not going to break COINJOIN CoinJoin. What I'm going to talk about is practical concerns regarding normal operations of day-to-day use of Wasabi. And it's mostly edge cases that are related to Wasabi being what I call an automated wallet. So automated wallets are kind of this maybe newer or relatively now more popular class of wallets that make non-interactive decisions for you. And I'll explain what this means, but there are clients like Lightning as some sort of an automated wallet, and BISC, if you ever use BISC, has some sort of automated functions. So that's an automated wallet, and what I'm going to try to impress upon you is that whatever is not validated on the client side as of your wallet is maybe a security hole. So what are automated wallets, or maybe we can call them smart contracts? So automated wallets have direct access to secret key material, so they have your private key and they're allowed to use it, and they make non-interactive decisions for you as a user. So decisions can be a lot of things, but they can do, they can choose to make a transaction, obviously. They can choose the size of the transaction. They can choose the size of fees, and those things can affect the integrity of your funds. So do you actually hold your funds after those decisions are made? It could affect your privacy. It could affect your availability of your funds because maybe they're going to be locked for some period of time. And the reason I also call them maybe smart contracts is because I think they're, in something like Ethereum and other systems, we think of smart contracts as this object. But really, smart contract is a more, I see it as a more abstract thing where you want to spend funds and you want some conditions to apply when you're spending them, and you want to verify that the conditions apply, and anything that does that, I think you could consider as a smart contract. So maybe this kind of wallets are smart contracts. And why is Wasabi specifically automated? Because it has to make decisions for you. So when you queue up coins to be mixed, there are a lot of things that you don't decide yourself, and the wallet will decide for you later on, maybe during the night when you're not next to your computer. So it will decide things like what mining fee you're going to pay for transactions. It's going to decide how many fees you're going to pay for the coordinator, for the server operated by Wasabi Wallet. It's going to decide the denomination of the round because it's trying to optimize the Bitcoin amount that's going to go into that round. And it's going to optimize something that's called remixing, which is entering additional mixing rounds after after you've done one mixing round. I'm going to explain that now. So remix attacks. What's a remix? So it's multiple things. One remix attack is when you have an amazing song and then, Grammy Award-winning rapper shows up and destroys your song completely with a remix. This is one remix attack, but I'm going to talk on another one. So a remix is when, in Wasabi, a user sets an anonymity set target. The default is 50. So basically what you're saying is, I want my coin to be mixed until it reaches an anonymity set of 50, and if it doesn't reach that, you should enter it into future rounds. And this happens automatically. It will automatically get re-added to the queue. And when Wasabi tries to analyze whether it should enter, whether it should put a UTXO in an extra remixing queue, the way it does that is by doing some heuristics on figuring out whether the output was part of a COINJOIN. So you could have said, one other way to do this would be the wallet could just, if it knows that it just did one coin join, then it knows that it should add it to another round, but that's not what Wasabi does. Wasabi looks into every transaction. Maybe it assumes that it can always be a coin join, and if it is, it will try to add it. And the way it figures out if it's a coin join is just if it looks like a coin join. So if there are like 10 inputs and 10 outputs, and 10 inputs and 10 equal outputs, and then 10 changes, then it would assume that this is a coin join transaction. And if the coin join output doesn't match the target anonymity set, it will add the coin to another round. So I want to try and explain what kind of attacks you can do with this. So first, a disclaimer. To demonstrate this, I have to make up some fake identities. They're all fake. If they are somehow, if there's some resemblance to the truth, it's purely coincidental, and please don't cringe. So let's start. So the first one is Hodornaut. He's a fan of thunder torches, or whatever those are. He's also an internet troll, and he regularly insults inventors of revolutionary things, so people who invent great, amazing things. The next one is Dr. Right. It's right as opposed to left, okay? And he's an inventor of revolutionary things. He has more money than your country, of course, and he wants to sue Hodornaut because he insulted him, but he needs to find out who he is in order to do that. The last one is Mr. Max Good. He's an early contributor, and he's held in very high regard in the community, but there is a conspiracy theory that says that he's a master of sock puppets. It's mostly spread in a specific subreddit, a three-lettered subreddit, but some people believe that, and we have to respect their beliefs. The thing is, by the way, if you're watching this live at home right now, you may be wondering why you only see me and the screen and you don't see the audience. So there is a conspiracy theory that says that it's because everyone in the room is a sock puppet. Again, I can't prove if it's true or not, but maybe. So Dr. Wright suspects that Max Good operates Hodornaut, but he needs proof. He wants to sue someone, and he needs conclusive proof to do that. So let's see. So here's what happens. So both Hodornaut and Max Good, whether they're the same person or not, they're both very minded about their own privacy. So what they're doing, they're obviously using Wasabi, and they're mixing pretty much all the coins that they have because they're concerned about that. And so we start at the top with various UTXOs. Some of them may belong to them, others maybe not. And they get them into various COINJOIN transactions, not necessarily the same one. And after a few rounds of mixing, they end up with two outputs. There's one output on address A and another one on address B, and they look exactly the same at this point. But after that, Hodornaut takes 0.1 Bitcoin from a mixing round and spends it. It was in address A, and it spent the coin for legal defense. And he does this publicly because people donated, so he wants everyone to know how he uses the fund. So that's one. And on the other hand, Max Good uses another coin in address B and pays to the Honey Badger Foundation because he likes honey badgers. And he does this publicly too because he wants people to support the Honey Badger Foundation as well. So basically what we know now, we know two things. One, we know that address A and address B were outputs in a Wasabi transaction. And we know this because it's easy to tell because all Wasabi transactions look very similar. And in fact, Wasabi publishes a list of all the COINJOIN transactions that they've done because they're easy to figure them out anyway. So we know that those addresses were used for outputs in Wasabi COINJOINs. And we also know that address A actually belongs to Hodornaut and address B actually belongs to Max Good. And I want to know, this is normal usage. There's nothing, there's nothing wrong with doing a COINJOIN and later publicly stating why you used it. And there's so far no link between the two. So now let's say that Dr. Wright wants to maybe take advantage of the situation. So he needs to prove that, again, that Max Good is actually Hodornaut, but he needs to prove it conclusively. So what it's going to do is going to construct a transaction that looks like a COINJOIN transaction. He uses two inputs of his own, and people don't have to know that both belong to himself, it doesn't matter. And he creates 4 outputs. So 2 outputs have equal amounts, and they go to the already known address A and address B, which we already know belong to Hoddernout and MaxGood respectively, and we also know that they are Wasabi addresses. So we know that there is a Wasabi wallet somewhere that is watching these addresses. And he also creates 2 change outputs because this is what a COINJOIN transaction looks like. So when Wasabi sees this transaction on both ends, both on Hoddernout and on MaxGood's end, what the client sees is a transaction that seems like COINJOIN with an anonymity set of 2 because there are only 2 outputs. And it would assume that you would want to remix them and enter them into a future round. So if it happens to be that Hoddernout and MaxGood are the same person, and they use the same instance of Wasabi wallet, then Wasabi will actually take both of these coins and insert them together into a queue for mixing in the future, because it sees 2 different coins that are COINJOIN coins, and it thinks that that they're already kind of clean and they need another mixing. If this happens, then Dr. Wright will have proof that they're the same person because it's used on the same wallet. And really what happens here is that you kind of had, you had Wasabi running overnight because it tried to do mixing, and maybe during the night, Wasabi's decision kind of made you de-anonymous because it made a decision that breaks your privacy. So some caveats about this. First of all, for this to work, the wallet has to be open and unlocked. So, of course, in order to make COINJOINs, the wallet needs to know your private key, and this means you have to input your password into the wallet, and the only way to do this in the UI is to already queue some coins. So the only way that this would work is if you already have some coins queued up for mixing in your wallet. And outputs could possibly get mixed separately. I mean, you're hoping that, as an attacker, you're hoping that the outputs will be mixed together and you'll learn something about the user, but they could be mixed separately, so you can't know for sure that it will succeed even if you're right. And of course, you need to have a very clear suspect. And it's not cheap. It's not cheap at all. I mean, you're going to have to pay around 0.1, which is the default denomination for mixing in Wasabi. So you're gonna have to pay something like that in order to have a chance at maybe prove what you want to prove. But maybe the attacker has more money than your country, so maybe he can afford to pay a lot. And maybe he wants to because he really doesn't like you. So it's possible. So some recommendations how to maybe handle this. So for end users, I would say first of all be aware that that the wallet makes decisions for you, and you should be aware of that. Maybe use a different wallet account. Wasabi supports multiple accounts, so maybe use a different wallet account for each identity that you want to have. It kind of misses the point in a way of using a COINJOIN because you want to kind of de-link the connection between your identities, but you could try to do that. Another thing you could do is just turn off automatic requeuing and manage it manually. So if some coin doesn't meet your target anonymity set, you just requeue it yourself manually, and then you make decisions based on your own understanding of what's going on. For Wasabi itself, I guess the most obvious fix would be to just not show or not queue outputs that are that were already previously used in a previously used address. So any address reuse, maybe don't even show it to the user, or if you do show it to the user, at least don't requeue it. Another thing you could do is to say, okay, if some coins arrive at an address that was previously, if some coin arrive at any address, I will only use it together with other coins that arrived at the same address. So I will never spend just one of the coins in an address. I will spend all of the coins locked in a specific address. And there were already some other improvements that Wasabi already tried to do to fix this. So someone tried to do something that looks similar to this with very small amounts, because again, this is expensive. So someone tried this with very small amounts. So Wasabi fixes it by just not showing the very small amounts. And it improved COINJOIN detection heuristics. And they're discussing the other options as well. So probably we can see a change at some point. Okay. Next attack. So this was an attack on someone's privacy, and you can actually try to do it right now, and if you're lucky, it would work. The next attack is about the security of your funds. So you do pay what's called a coordinator fee, which is a service fee to the Wasabi wallet operators, and we kind of consider Wasabi to be a non-custodial wallet. Like no one has, it's a self-custodial wallet. So you hold the keys, you decide where the Bitcoins go. But the way that Wasabi charges the fee, it's based on things that change. So basically, everyone's going to pay a fee of 0.003% time multiplied by the round denomination, multiplied by the size of the anonymity set for each participant. So for example, if the round denomination is 0.1 Bitcoins and we have 100 participants in the round, then it's gonna be 0.0003 Bitcoin per participant. But the thing is that maybe the server gets compromised and maybe the compromising entity wants to steal your funds. So maybe we can try to maximize the fee here. So the 0.003% is hard-coded, but other things we might be able to change. So we can try to affect maybe the round denomination, and we can also try to affect the anonymity set just to make the total fee higher. Now, one obvious way that was discussed a lot is that you can have, just a larger anonymity set. Let's say you have 100 fake participants and you target one specific person to steal from them. So if you do the math, it seems that it's not going to be effective because it's going to cost you more in mining fees if you attack a specific person. But you don't have to attack one specific person. You can try to attack a lot of people. So you can say, okay, I'm going to add a lot of fake participants into the round, and I hope to get like 100, 100 honest participants who will pay a fee. So if we really try to maximize this, I guess we can try to do something like up to around 10,000 fake participants. This will probably fill an entire SegWit block, but it's possible. And you would use, let's say, out of the 10,000, 100 would be real, and then you end up with something like 3 Bitcoins that you can gather, which is 0.03 from each real participant. And remember that the default denomination is 0.1, so that's like 30% of what you put in, you actually pay as a fee. This would be a non-standard transaction because standard transactions are limited to 100 kilobyte, I believe. So this means that the Bitcoin network won't relay a transaction like that. You would have to get it to a miner directly, which is possible. Maybe the attacker is a miner, so it's possible. And I guess these days, a standard size block gets about 1 Bitcoin in fees. So 3 Bitcoins is an improvement, but I'm not sure it's worth going through the trouble. So what if we try to increase the round denomination? This is another thing we could do. The round denomination is also changing. The main reason the round denomination is changing is because Wasabi tries to optimize, because sometimes people had 0.1 Bitcoins in an output, but after they paid fees, it's a little less. So they try to make the output, the denomination of each round ever so slightly different so that they can accommodate more people. And there's no check, so you can make, they can increase the amount to be much higher, and then hopefully for the attacker, you can try to get more money out of the round. So some recommendations here would be to put a hard, client-side limit on just the number of participants in a round, and I guess it would make sense to do it around 100 because this is the maximum that's probably possible right now anyway, because the way the protocol works and so on. So it's probably reasonable. And also probably put some hard limit on the client side for the round denomination. And also these two are being discussed, and I believe it will be fixed for future versions. So really what I'm trying to kind of point out here is that there are a lot of automated wallets like Wasabi coming out soon. I guess the Lightning is a great example. It makes a lot of decisions for you. So you should be aware and try to think of what kind of decisions is this wallet going to make for me, and am I really interested in making those decisions, and how can I kind of mitigate those? So yeah, that's it. Thank you. And if anyone has any questions.
Hi. First question. Your PGP fingerprint does not match the paper. So which one is the correct one? Your
doesn't PGP match the paper?
Yeah, the C8BB.
That's a big
it says C8B8 on the paper. So which one is the correct one?
I guess I don't want to say something wrong right now. I'll try to figure out a way to publish the correct one soon without doing it on electronic chat or something. I hope.
Excellent, thank you.
Something out.
The other question is, you had this example where you allocate 10,000 fake participants to the mix, and you only have 3 Bitcoins to do so. So you have only, well, 3 Bitcoins is 300,000 Satoshis, so you have 30 Satoshis per fake participant. How are you doing that?
I'm not sure I understand. So you can, so what you can do is you have 100 honest participants. They each put in 0.1 Bitcoin, right, which is a total of 10 Bitcoins for the 100 honest participants. And you can hope to steal 3% of their fees, which would be 3 Bitcoins. Is that clear? Yes? You pay yourself. So you're the attacker, you control the server, you pay yourself, so it's okay. You didn't lose anything.
But you pay transaction fees to move the 0.1 Bitcoin.
Right, you pay transaction fees, and more accurately, because you probably have to be a miner, then you pay an opportunity cost of what you would get if you would use other transactions. But it just turns out that you get 3 Bitcoins, and otherwise you would have gotten probably around 1 Bitcoin in transaction fees, so it's a profit.
Yeah, thanks.